Well, hello there, two-stroke turbo fans. Welcome back to the shop. Welcome back to something new on the lift. Always something new. This is my 1952 Nash. It is a special interest car. I don't get to work on it much because I'm working on other people's cars, and I'm saying that as my shop dog Stella nestles down into her little bed. You'll see that next to Stella, my 9-year-old Brittany Spaniel, is a 1957 BMW Isetta. The thing you may notice about this BMW Isetta, it looks really good, but the back end is not there. It's only held up by a cart. The rear end is out of it. I'm going to pet my dog's rear end right here. She likes that. Give her a little rub. And the rear end of the Isetta is on the bench, or should I say another cart. If you recall from a couple videos back, we diagnosed correctly that this chain case, this is the rear end, power goes in through this sprocket, is run by a chain, which then turns the rear sprocket. You've got basically a 1:3 ratio, so it's a 3.0 rear end, give or take. You can manipulate the sprocket there and change that, but we're not doing that. We're going to stay with the stock rear end. The chain had broken and wadded up. I don't know what caused the chain to break. This is the chain in question, and if you look closely, this is a heavy-duty chain, and the link's just like sheared. I don't know. It didn't break at the master link. The master link would be right here. It just broke, and still a little confuddled as to what happened. So I'm cleaning up the chain case. I have a brand new chain, just came in a box. I'm gonna pop that on. Maybe that one was stretched, I don't know. Supposedly this was a rebuilt chain case. Also the guibos. If you recall, these are the drive line. This is the drive line for the Isetta. And these are the rubber insulators, and they're split. These are only 6 months old, maybe a year old. I can't remember. I've got some brand new guibos with the metal rings on them. I'm gonna put those in, but I hope those last longer than these. I don't know if the guy is hard on his car, pops the clutch a lot. I don't understand what happened here. And I'm a little worried about that because apparently, I'm going to fix this thing, and I don't want the same thing to happen again. I'd like to fix or nip in the bud whatever the issue, the underlying issue is. And that's unknown. But we're fixing the Isetta. We're going to get the rear end put back together. I'm going to show you how I do that. And then, as I was alluding to earlier, when I have some free time, I'm going to take the cross member. Has a bolt-on cross member here on the bottom of the Nash. Take that off. Get the oil pan off. Turn the light on here so you can see. And I'm going to take a look at the underside, check the rods, check the mains, see what this is. I've got a broken piston, I believe, or at least I've got a cylinder low compression. It is a little flathead 196, and I don't know if I'm going to do an in-frame dingle ball rebuild or rebuild it right. We'll see. I just need to get some more data to see what shape this engine's in. And in the meantime, you guys can watch me do this. I'm going to pet my dog for good luck. She's such a cute little thing. We upgraded the dog bed. We put a piece of foam onto there for a little insulation to give Stella that cushy kind of a feel, just like the couch at home. You're such a good puppy. All right, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next video. It's been fun, it's been real, and we're looking forward to fixing a couple of these old cars. Let's get to it. For those of you working on your BMW Isetta rear end, the chain case, to put the new chain on, you have a master link, which is this guy right here. You have to loosen the mechanical tensioner, which means you rotate this down, makes that gear come closer, gives your chain a little slack, and then once you get it connected with your master link, the link in the center, and correctly clipped, you can then rotate this to get some tension on the chain. You do not want it to hit the case like this one has been, and there is a sight plug in the cover, so you can check that when you're done. This can be adjusted once it's in the car. There you go. There's your tip and trick for the day on setting up your chain case, chain preload on your Isetta 300. There, good morning, two-stroke turbo fans. Welcome back to the shop. Welcome back to another beautiful March day. It's early in March and we got sunshine on our pile of junk out in our yard there. All the old cars that we lovingly tend to seem to break down for no particular reason, just sitting around. Stella, our shop dog, has just laid down into the winter sunshine as we go into daylight savings time. We are met with a job at hand. What are we doing here? This is the rear end. This is the chain drive out of this 57 BMW Isetta. You can see now I've actually got a real chain that's not broken. I don't know what happened to the other one. I think it got sloppy and it bound up. I cleaned this all up inside, checked all the bearings, cleaned everything. Supposedly it's been rebuilt prior to the customer buying the car or thereabouts. I don't think it's got very many miles on it, so I'm assuming all the bearings were replaced because they're good. Sealed it up with a new gasket. I have not put oil in it yet. I am going to put new guibos on. If you recall, these guibos are split. You can see right there, they're not looking great. Those guibos are not very old. This is a brand new one. Still got the metal band on it. And it is much easier to put the guibos on before we put the car up, or it's just the rear end up. It's kind of difficult to do it in the car, but anyhow, that goes on there like that. Then you got the drive line like this, and that bolts up to the transmission, which is right here. I've already got the guibo on, the inner guibo. This Isetta has the rear end relocation kit, which means the rear end is, the springs have been shortened, and there is a special link on the drive axle here to keep this drive line straight and not bent. It puts less wear and tear on the guibos and makes the car roll better, which effectively gives you more power. Less rolling resistance equals more power or more efficiency. So we are going to lift this rear end up, connect it to the springs, connect it to the shock absorbers, connect it to the drive line, the speedometer cable, and the e-brake and the brake lines, put it back in the car, and make this Isetta whole again. And once we do that, we've got a few other things I noticed on this car. I noticed the bushings have wore out in the front here. See how that's offset there? That's supposed to be in the center. That will cause a braking issue. When you stop, that pin moves around. And same thing on this side. This one's rotted out too. So we got to order up some of those. We got to get this car back on the road. This thing is driven a lot. Guy really likes to drive his Isetta, and I'm all for that, but it's got to be safe and it's got to be reliable. So let's get the rear end back in it and make it just that, safe and reliable. Let's get to work. Okay, welcome back to installing the rear end into the Isetta. If you look up in here now, I've got my brand new guibos. My drive line is aligned. And what I'm feeling for before I bolt everything in, I still have the shocks undone and just the lower springs barely hang on. I want to make sure it's a smooth, everything's smooth. So the chain isn't binding within the case. The drive shaft isn't binding on a bearing. The guibos are straight. The speedometer gear isn't binding. The tensioner isn't binding, and it feels like butter. If you guys remember when this car came in, that spun, the drive line with the guibos would spin, but nothing else would work, and the both rear wheels were locked. This is a solid axle. In other words, it's like a spool. It is a straight axle with just a gear on it, like a pinion gear or ring gear, but with teeth. And because the rear tires are so close together, it doesn't seem to affect the turning as much. If it was spread out wider, you'd bind, the inside wheel would skid. And I think that's the design. That's why these Isettas are shaped with the rear wheels so close together. That's my theory anyhow. Okay, let's keep going. We got to drive this thing. I don't know if we'll drive it today, but at least we'll get this in it and see if it works. That would be great.